Kia ora and welcome to the Good Day Matrix. My name is Daz and I have the absolute honour and privilege today of sitting in the beautiful home of Brodie Retallick. To introduce Brodie, I don't think he needs too much of an intro, but he is a dad of two beautiful young girls, an epic legend on a rugby field, a very, very kind human who is always up for helping people, and a big car man, I hear. So no doubt we'll learn more about that. But thank you for leading us into your home today, and welcome to the Good Day Matrix.
No worries. Thank you for having me on. It's good to be on.
We our main focus is to sort of show people that wellness is not just body and it's not just mind, and that it's identity and community and environment as well as other things as well. But to really highlight that, you know, knowing who you are in situations is a big part of how you keep moving forward and achieve different things in your life. So we'll go through those pillars with you today and learn a bit more about you and hopefully inspire people who are watching. You might hear something that Brodie likes to do or tries, or that you might want to also pick up and try and see if it's something that you like as well. So I hear around Brodie that you're a bit of a tutu when it comes to cars and fixing things and making things and doing things. So outside of rugby, what other things do you enjoy doing that keep you active?
Yeah, I do enjoy playing around with my cars. I'm probably better at pulling things apart than putting them back together.
Story of the
yeah, luckily I've got some good friends that help me out. But yeah, obviously I've got a couple of young daughters and my cars, and we travel around a wee bit, which is nice. So between those sort of few things, keep me pretty busy in the off season. Normally in New Zealand we get December, January off as like our break off, so try and get back to Christchurch and see my parents and just enjoy the summer really before it all starts again for another season. Yeah,
that's a lot of cool things. But what do you do? Like, do you take the kids out on the scooters and try and chase after them?
Well, kind of at the moment, our oldest daughter knows how to ride a bike, but I spent a fair bit of time chasing her down the driveway when she was learning. But yeah, when we kind of live between Hamilton and Napier, so there's obviously a lot of nice esplanades along the beach, and the kids love going to the beach as well, so we spend a lot of time out on the bikes or walking along the beachfront down in Napier.
Nice. They give you anxiety, are they coming up like they just gun for speed and you're like, oh god, you can't see driveways or this or that, and you're trying to keep up with them, and then there's two of them, so you got to try one of the both. With your career and everything that you've done so far, I imagine that you would have come across some adversity and some different challenges that, you know, you would have had to have some really good mental toughness to wear down or steer down and keep going. What are some strategies you use to keep moving forward when, you know, it could be injuries or different blockers that come along? What are some of those strategies that you put in place?
Yeah, I was lucky to have a pretty good run for about 5 or 6 years, first 5 or 6 years of my career. And then sort of over the last 3 or 4, I've had a reasonable amount of injuries, I suppose you could say. And something I learnt from, you know, being part of a Super Rugby team in the All Blacks was, you know, turn the good into a bad, or look at a challenge a different way than looking down on it. So yeah, for me, when I had probably the most significant one was dislocating my shoulder leading up to the 2019 World Cup. I was still a chance to make it, but you know, I just tried to go away and put a positive on it, and that was to go and get fitter than I ever had been before. So for a while there, I couldn't run, but I could still jump on a spin bike, and then I could run, and without doing a lot of weights, but I could just work on my fitness. So yeah, for the kind of main strategy that I've always tried to use is, yeah, things don't always go your way, and that's life, but what's a positive spin you can put on a bad outcome, especially something like an injury that you don't always control. That's just part of the game, and I had no control of it. So how do I make the best of it? And then I suppose that gives you a target or something to get up each day and continue working at, so when it does come right, you can reap the rewards.
Yeah. And sometimes it's those small goals too, it's not looking at the World Cup, it might have been breaking it down to being that I can get this range of motion, or I can get to this on the bike and hold it there for that long, and sort of do those incremental goals as well, so that you feel like you're achieving.
Yeah, I think exactly, like if you put some small steps and plan in place, then the big one will take care of itself. So like for that, I had all my times around my running, and every 2 weeks I'd try and drop 2 or 3 seconds.
Nice.
And then that, like say when you get those small steps right, and then the process or the outcome will take care of itself.
Yeah, sometimes that big one, it feels like unattainable when you're sitting, like, I'm obviously involved with netball a lot, and we've got girls who do massive injuries, particularly to knees, unfortunately, and that goal of getting back on court can seem absolutely out of reach. But if you do those incremental bits and pieces of, get to here, be able to do the yo-yo test, do this, do that, weight bear properly, or control the balance, then those things get you there. But if you just look at that one thing far away, it can be pretty soul destroying to build back towards.
It can be quite daunting, and like you say, once you kind of tick off one of those little goals, and it's quite a good feeling of satisfaction, and makes you want to keep pushing on.
In hindsight, if you could go back to young Brodie and give him some advice for what was coming for the next 15 years ahead, was there anything that you'd go back? I mean, you've got a pretty positive outlook anyway, which is cool. Like, often it's like, don't sweat the small stuff, well, things will take care of themselves. But is there something that you'd go back and say? It's a good question. I think and when I first made the Chiefs, especially, it was in 2012, and we won 2 Super Rugby titles in my first 2 years, and maybe at the time I was 21 and 20. I probably didn't realise the significance of it, or how hard or how special the group of players that we were playing with was. And I guess as I've maybe got a little bit older, matured, like even in the 2015 World Cup, playing with players like Richie McCaw and Dan Carter, Kevin Mialamu, all those guys, I'd probably just, like you say, enjoy the moment. Especially some of our best mates have come out of that Chiefs team, and I look back now and I was like, wish I just play another couple of games with them, or things like that. So I just enjoy what happens along the ride. The good or the bad, and probably, and if I could go back 10 years or so, that's probably one thing I'd maybe not take so much for granted. Breathe it in. There's a saying, it says enjoy every sandwich. Have you ever heard that before?
I haven't, no. But
and it's like, often it sounds ridiculous, but we guzzle whatever is going on, whether that's eating, whether that's having a quick coffee, I'll just grab a quick coffee, or I'll just quickly catch Brodie for half an hour, and we're quick, and whereas enjoy every sandwich means just sit there and appreciate you have the sandwich, and it might be the best bloody sandwich with all these beautiful layers of every favourite flavour you love in a sandwich, but taking that moment to just actually appreciate that you can sit down and take 5 minutes, and you do have this beautiful bit of food, or in that moment of spending time with a friend you haven't seen for a while, whatever that is, and just really enjoying. And same with, like, when you walk out onto a rugby field and just taking a breath for a minute, like, I'm still here, or I got here, whatever that is, or yes, I am standing beside this guy, how good.
I think that's like something that living in Japan kind of taught us. Is in New Zealand, that we obviously have friends and family and we're around them, but whereas in Japan it was kind of just us. We had a few Kiwis and foreigners that played there, but because we weren't kind of here, there, everywhere, or travelling between cities, we could just enjoy the day. And sometimes we didn't do a hell of a lot, but it was just cool playing with the kids, or taking them to the park 2 or 3 hours, and like you say, having a coffee on the way home. So you did right about the sandwich theory. And
it's cool though, because now you've had that experience in Japan as well, that when you come home, that's something you'll probably be really not mindful of, but aware of. Like, hold on a minute, I've been running around like a headless chick, let's try and do what we did in Japan, like 1 day a week or something, and just take things at a different pace.
I think especially in New Zealand, like in that Super Rugby and all that level, there's a lot of outside noise and media and all that. Whereas in Japan, it's the size of New Zealand, but it has 130 million people. So they don't really know rugby, or had no idea who the rugby teams were. So it's definitely was a bit of a blessing and a learning there.
Yeah, pretty amazing. That's it. And I feel sorry for you guys, and same with our netball girls too. Like, just going out for a coffee sometimes, and it just might be nice just to have a quiet coffee with, there's a friend you've gone out with, and then 5 people come over, oh my God, please could I have your autograph? And of course it's beautiful because they love you and they love what you're doing, but sometimes it's just a little bit just trying to have a moment.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're in a big country and not known very well, then it's probably really peaceful just to go and do and be whoever you want to be and be wherever you want to be and
Yeah, that's right.
enjoy every sandwich.
I couldn't really hide over there. I was quite a lot taller than the average Japanese person. So.
They probably just knew, well, he must be one of the rugby players.
Yeah. Quite often basketball. Are you basketball? No.
Oh, should have just said yes.
I should have, yeah.
Because they probably wouldn't know the Tall Blacks as much as they know the All Blacks.
No,
so they might have just gone, okay, nice to see you.
Yeah, that's right.
With identity, we find it really important that people know who they are and where they've come from in order to sort of keep making that way in the world. Because, our history, like with my grandparents, I know what they did and I know their value system and their beliefs, and I sort of base, that's your baseline of what you've grown up with. Where have you grown up and sort of what's your history as you've come through?
Yeah, I grew up in a little town in North Canterbury. It's called Amberley. It's about sort of 40 to 45 minutes north of Christchurch. And when I was a kid, I think there's about a population of 1,000 people.
Oh, wow.
It's on State Highway 1, so you do have to drive through there if you're driving to Christchurch from further north. But yeah, my dad's parents both lived in Amberley, and I think they lived in the same house for like 70 odd years.
Oh,
and my mum's parents lived about 15 minutes down the road, called Ashworth Beach, which was named after their family farm. So yeah, we obviously growing up in a small town. I'm the middle of three brothers, so I'm the middle. I've got two brothers, and we're 3 years apart. So my older brother's 3 years older, obviously, and younger one is 3 years younger. So we were always pretty competitive as three boys, probably growing up in a country kind of town do. But my poor parents, between the three of us, all we did was play sport and rugby, cricket, tennis, touch, swimming, pretty much everything they could do that was available to us, we were doing it. So we obviously grew up there, and when my oldest brother was time to go to high school, my mum was working in Christchurch, and he managed to get into Christchurch Boys High. So he was going in there, and then when it was my turn, I just kind of followed his footsteps, and I ended up going to Christchurch Boys High and doing our high school in town.
Is that quite like not the done thing?
It wasn't maybe so much back then as it is now, maybe, but because we were from out of town and stuff, I remember my brother having to go on the ballot and things like that, and then it was a big deal for him to get in, because they only took, I think it was like 40 odd kids from out of zone and stuff. But yeah, that if we didn't go into town, the local high school was Rangiora, which is kind of 15-20 minutes away. But my brother's a pretty good rugby player as well, and we kind of wanted to go to one of those town rugby schools. So yeah, it was where we wanted to be anyway. Yeah. And they'll be very grateful that you guys were there too. Yeah.
Did you guys win the rugby the years you guys were playing there?
Not when I was in the first team for 2 years. We got knocked out in the semi-final both times, which is a bit unfortunate.
Come on.
My brother played first 15 for his last couple of years and a part of some pretty successful first 15s for Christchurch Boys. But yeah, the big rivalry down there is Christchurch Boys versus Christ College, and even now, like playing professional rugby, it's still one of the most enjoyable matches or memories, like with all the two schools either side, and they're throwing fruit at each other and chanting each other and singing the school songs and stuff like that. It's a pretty awesome experience.
Our cameraman that you can't see right now is Christ College.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
We'll throw stuff at him later.
Yeah.
Do you guys, I love that, do you guys have any sort of special family traditions that you guys do, both sort of, I guess, in your immediate family and then in your wider family?
We don't, not really traditions, but it might sound a little bit weird, but it's not. But so my dad and his brother married two sisters.
Oh, bless.
So we have, because of that, we have a pretty tight family. Yeah. It's not separated between different families. So when we were younger, we always, Christmas Day was just a massive Christmas dinner, and we'd have a big league game between the cousins and the brothers, with opposite brothers on opposite teams.
How good.
But now everyone's kind of a little bit older. I'm at the bottom end of the or younger side of the cousins. Some of us live in the North Island and stuff, but every 2 years now we all go home for Christmas still. And with about the last 5 years, my cousins there have gone back camping where they used to as a kids at Woody and Beach. So we're going to join them this year camping down there. And I guess it's probably not a tradition, but I always look forward to the Christmas where we go back to Christchurch. It brings back some good memories, and it's also good fun seeing everybody.
That is so a tradition, but it's also starting that pathway for like Sienna and Frankie, like going to see the cousins and doing those same things that you loved as a kid. That all that stuff will still be a really valuable part for them to bring through in their life. That's really cool.
It's pretty awesome. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah. Camping, I hope you have good weather.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I will wish that for you for the rest of the year.
Our first camping trip as a family, so hopefully it goes well.
Your first camping trip?
Yeah.
Oh, good luck and Godspeed. Oh, we still haven't done it, eh? I can't. My husband would love to, and I'm like, I just don't know that I can. Yeah. We need to do bougie camping where I can have no bugs coming into my tent. So community is another one of our pillars, and I know that you love being useful and involving yourself in different communities that you're a part of. So what communities are you a part of?
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of a part of two, like living between Hamilton and Napier now. It is a little bit tougher at the moment with like the younger family and rugby being pretty busy, but I mean, I'm not part of any community boards or anything, but I always, coming from a small town, I guess growing up, you knew everyone and everyone's approachable, so whenever I'm out and about or whatever, then I always would like to think I'm approachable and friendly to anyone that wants to say hello and have a chat. And I think that also goes a long way, especially in this world, is just being kind to people and being out there and for anyone really. Yeah, and that's so important. That's part of the environment stuff we talk about. Is environment is home and it's work and it's sustainable living, but it's also the environment you create around yourself and being kind and being welcoming and being helpful or whatever those things are, so that people do feel comfortable and that we are thinking of people outside of ourselves, if you know what I mean. So it's, toxic environments that people can create where they're gossiping about people or, doing this different stuff, and really consciously choosing that's not where I want to be. I don't want to be sitting here talking about that person that you have an issue with. Go talk to that person, or, whatever it is going on. So it's really important, both in the community and an environment perspective, to be a good human, whatever those values are that are important to you. Like for me, I love being useful and I love connecting with people. So making sure that I'm doing that means that I'm helping whatever that person was needing. If I can connect and hear the purpose, then I've got their back for being helpful for them, I guess, and being useful. Yeah, and I think like being lucky the teams to play a team sport. Like you're not everyone's best mate, but you have to find a way. Well, not have to, but you get on with team members to make the team work in the bigger picture. The goals become reality, and like you say, and we also live in a world where actions speak louder than words. So I'm a pretty big believer in that like I say, just what you're doing and if what your actions show is how you're presented to the public, then that's kind of how you are. Yeah, and then the more you put that out there, particularly in a team environment, the more people start to emulate what they're seeing. So if they see you're putting these values or this kindness out there, then they're going to go, oh, so that's what we do around here, cool. Like, and they start to do those same things rather than bringing in potentially negative habits or, those sorts of things that you'll start to notice it in other players going, oh. Yeah, like I touched on when I first made the All Blacks and the Chiefs, like playing with some great players that have been around a long time. You do just kind of see how they go about their training and their business and follow the way. So I guess now I'm kind of at the pointy end of my career, you could say. Then hopefully I can have that influence on some guys coming through and they get some success from it. Yeah, definitely. When you were in Japan, were there any communities that you connected to over there with the girls with kindy or school or through rugby? Yeah, we put our youngest daughter into a full Japanese preschool, which when me and my wife went to pick her up, or drop her off. We couldn't have a conversation. They didn't have much English, so that was a bit of an experience. But yeah, I think quite cool for her. And our oldest daughter, they actually start school at 4 over in Japan, so she had to go to an international school which was about 500 meters away. But yeah, just being in Japan, like the Japanese people were so polite. There's very minimal theft there. Like our coach left his bike at a cafe for 2 weeks, and then was like, "Oh yeah, I left it there." The cafe's only 100 meters away. He walks back and his bike's still there, and they'll happily queue up for an hour if they want to go to a restaurant and stuff like that. So just even being in a different country and seeing the way they live, kind of like you said, they're not in a rush a lot of the time. They'll just enjoy what they're doing and carry on. So yeah, probably one of the most, significance was we were lost one day, and we asked the Japanese person where the train station was, and they went out of their way to walk us 10 minutes to the train station to make sure we got on the right train, and then they just carried on their day. So I was thinking, I don't know if that would ever happen in New Zealand. So
that's so kind.
Shows how kind they are.
Yeah. And just, again, it's that not rushing, I guess. So it's not like, but I've got a meeting. Just follow this way, you'll be right. It's
it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Do you know David Galbraith?
I do know David Galbraith.
So we've done quite a lot of our mental wellness chats with David, and that's one thing he talked about in Japan. Is it Katsumonu, I think, is what he talks about, and it's like the most deadly warrior, but also the kindest person, and they're like the top of the great person, but they're also absolutely deadly. And you don't want to mess with them. But in New Zealand, in English terms, it translates to quintessential weirdo.
Oh yeah.
It's just so true. Like, if you're just being you and doing you and enjoying whatever it is, it just all comes together. But he's learned a lot, obviously, working with the Japanese team, and it was just intriguing to learn from him about these different pieces of the Japanese culture. But yeah, quintessential weirdo, I thought was absolute priceless.
That's good.
And that's what he said. He said, when my daughters, he said, God forbid, but on my daughter's tombstones in 100 years' time, I don't want that she was a great mum. I want quintessential weirdo. So when someone's walking along going, wow, she lived a life. Like, how good. She must have been a character. Yeah.
Like he was with the Chiefs for 6 or 7 years while I was there. So that probably summed him up well.
Yeah. He is so good.
Yeah.
No, he is wonderful. He's currently in isolation at the moment.
Is he? Oh, right.
He'll be back soon. So being in Japan, in a totally different environment, obviously we've touched on that it's quite a bit slower, but how was that adjustment for you guys, both with the girls and moving away, I guess, though you don't live in the Waikato or Napier with all of your whānau, but being significantly far away from them, what was that like?
Yeah, it was, I was lucky enough to go up there a couple of times before we moved there with rugby, so I kind of had an idea what it was going to be like, but yeah, we obviously not being able to see family or in person would have been nice, but like I was touching on before, just having times to ourselves where we just potter around or do whatever. Life kind of slowed down a little bit, and we spent. It was almost longer to walk to the car park to get the car than the drive to training was. So, I'd pop home for a couple of hours, 2.5 hours in the middle of the day, and drop the kids at school and stuff like that. So, we thoroughly enjoyed it over there. It was, I almost think like it's just about completely opposite to New Zealand. The lifestyle, like you're in apartments, you hardly see green grass. You're in a taxi or on a train. Not a lot of people had their own cars. So it was kind of pretty exciting too because it was new. But we enjoyed it, and I'll look back on it fondly. That's for sure.
Yeah. Years ago, my husband's a builder, and he got asked to go over to Fiji and do some building, and we really toyed with it. And I was like, we've always said that just for a year we'd go somewhere, because we're both Hamilton, born, bred, stayed, never gone anywhere. And how cool that would have been to even just in New Zealand go to a different place just for a while. And so we really toyed with it, like, do we do this? Do we go to Fiji for a year? We had 2 kids at that stage, like, do we try this? But we didn't in the end because we sucked out. But I think there would have been a huge, because we've gone over there and like gone into the schools and stuff, and it's because I'm a teacher, I would have loved to have been in there working with those kids because they just appreciate time and they appreciate you being there. So I think if I went to go back to younger Darren, I would say just take that. It would have been nice, you know, it wouldn't have detrimented us in any way to try that for a year and just see a different way of the world. But that's cool that you guys did that.
And we went back late 2020, and I think it was in August. Went back, but I've never had so many people text me like safe travels, like, and because it's obviously we were in the middle of COVID, and I was like to Nikki, I was like, I wonder if we'll look back one day and we're like, we moved to Japan, the global pandemic, which I guess some people wouldn't have been too keen to be, but no, it was still great.
Yeah. Was it quite like with COVID over there? I mean, over here we're really blessed that we don't really see it. We're not masked up all the time, but the process is quite tight for monitoring, particularly probably I suppose in your rugby camp, like how they manage that for you guys. Yeah,
so I think the like Japanese, the courtesy, if they were sick, they wear a mask. So we had to wear a mask whenever we left our apartment. So that's probably not too new for the Japanese culture, but we got COVID tested every week.
Okay.
And if we had more than 5 positive cases in our team, we had to isolate for 2 weeks, which did happen once at the start of our last season. But they asked us not to socialise with anyone outside of the team really, and only one other family at a time. So that we were sitting there over Christmas and New Year's and seeing like things like Rhythm and Vines and people enjoying a New Zealand summer, and we're like that. New Zealand has got it really good right now, but it was just one of those things that's always in the back of your mind: is should we be doing this, or do we want to go there? Is it worth the risk? Because and then we were there to play rugby, and that was the job, but it is. New Zealand is a good spot right now compared to Japan was.
Yeah. It's a scary world over the next wee while. Like I remember when the pandemic first happened, and I was watching all these like webinars with these really high up business people and learning. I was trying to learn and understand what was going on, and they were all saying nobody's understanding that this is not just a 6 month or a year solution. This is going to be 3 years to 5 years. We're going to really feel this and just keep having these waves. We none of us really understand what's going to happen long term yet in terms of the economic stuff and the travel and everyone. The person they'd be talking to go no, like you've got to be optimistic. No, actually no, you've got to be realistic that there's going to be waves and there's going to be different businesses that are affected at different times, and they might be all right now but not be okay in 6 months when things start to pick up. And it'll be an interesting time over the next wee while of what it all looks like. But
I think like in Japan we're kind of like 3 weeks to 4 weeks in front of New Zealand when it first hit, so we could see what was kind of happening. And then Nikki ended up coming home about 2 weeks before I did, and she was like, "Do you think we're panicked?" And I was like, "No, I don't think we have." Like and then it just it all rolled on. So I think it's definitely probably been some tough times, and maybe some to come for people out there.
Yeah. But with that positive lens on, we're in the right place, and everyone's doing their best to do the right thing. Right across the world, I think everyone's doing their best with what they have to manage it all. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, so that's the end of that part, but now we have quick fire. This is my favourite part. All right. 3 things that made you smile today.
My breakfast,
nice.
Seeing my children, and just enjoying the Hamilton sun.
Nice. We've had some beautiful sunshine today.
Yeah.
Favourite books?
Favourite books? Anything that's about a real life story. I enjoy reading that. I'm not really into the Harry Potters or anything like that, so just anything that's a real life tale.
I still get hate that I've never seen a Harry Potter either, nor read the books, and I get a lot of stick for that. 3 favourite smells?
Fish and chips, coffee, and a V8 motor.
I heard you're a coffee man too. There you go. What makes you laugh?
I'll laugh at most things, to be fair.
First job?
First job. Well, first part-time job was working the vineyards in North Canterbury in the holidays, so I could buy a car. And probably fortunate, I never really had a full-time job. I was doing my pre-trade for my apprenticeship in Hawke's Bay, and then I made the New Zealand under-20s in Hawke's Bay, and then from there the Chiefs. So yeah,
Wow.
but the scary thing is I don't really have a qualification or anything to fall back on. But yeah, I suppose a vineyard worker is the first one.
That's what were you doing your pre-trade in?
I was doing it in fabrication and welding and
Cool.
engineering. So I just kind of started my apprenticeship, and then had to get the under-20s, went to Italy, and they said they wanted a full-time apprentice, which fair enough. So yeah, that's as far as it went.
Yeah.
I still got my books in the bag in the attic though. I saw them
there you go.
today.
It's always time. And the important thing for athletes, like I remember Chris Strange, if you know him, he's from New Zealand High Performance, and he's an athlete's advisor, and he had the Swindell twins go in and see him, and one of them said, "What do we do now? All we were was rowing, like what do we do now?" And he goes, "Do you know what transferable skills are?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "No." And they were like, he said, "You have been up earlier than everybody in pretty much the whole world. Every single day of your lives, you are dedicated, you're hardworking." And he said, "Those are the things. You have everything you need for that next phase, but it's just that confidence to know that, you know." So the same goes for you, Brodie. You've got someone will pick you up like that when you're ready. Or you could start your own thing. Go to pick me up songs.
Go to pick me up. Anything from the Foo Fighters.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big Foo Fighters fan.
Been to concerts?
I have been to the Foo Fighters, I think in 2016.
Nice.
They played at Mount Smart, we went up there. Yeah.
One of our team, Stephen, that we work with, he is adamant that Foo Fighters is always better on vinyl. So if you haven't got vinyl, listen to it.
I think there's probably a vinyl Foo Fighters
right
beside you.
Yeah, he's adamant that he's like, it's the only way to listen to the Foos. 3 things you are grateful for today.
The opportunity to play rugby, my family, and just enjoying each day.
Nice. Favourite concert? I think it's going to go without saying now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, the Foo Fighters was good, but actually me and Nikki and some other friends went to Guns N' Roses a few years ago, and that was pretty awesome as well. So I'll put them first equal. Foo Fighters, Guns N' Roses.
Fence sitter.
Yeah.
Hobbies.
I suppose you'd probably just say old cars and plodding around in the garages. I enjoy doing that because normally most people that own the cars aren't into rugby, so they don't want to talk about rugby and talk about other things, so it's always quite refreshing.
Always nice, yeah. What does a lazy day look like for you?
A lazy day? I don't like to sit still for too long, but quite often if it's a Sunday afternoon and a lazy day, I'll just sit in front of the TV and watch some sort of sport and probably eat fish and chips or something like that.
Nice. You shouldn't say that quietly, like, "Oh no, and fish and chips, and fish and chips."
Yeah.
Qualities is the last one. Qualities that you love about yourself.
I don't know. I suppose, hopefully, like we touched on before, that, I hope that I'm seen as like a down-to-earth person that's easily approachable and, just enjoying life. I don't like to get too caught up on things, so just enjoying the journey and having some fun while doing it.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Brodie, and I hope you all got something out of this, because I certainly did. But there's so much to inspire curiosity for those people watching today of checking out some cars and doing lots of other stuff. But I think a good takeaway as well is putting that kindness out in the world and knowing that what you're doing is not only affecting other people but also teaching them how to go about their days and treat other people. So thank you so much.
No worries.
And very, very big best of luck for this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you for making the time. But and thank you for letting us into your home. But ka kite, and we'll see you again next time.